Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. The Esports World Cup is on the horizon. The new map Corrode is in the game and has now been played in the VCT by Edward Gaming yesterday over in China. TenZ gives his thoughts on the new map and says that yes, some may not like it for various reasons, but he's pretty happy about the way this new map is being handled. But I will say that the community is rather split on the topic of Corrode right now. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Big drama on the day. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Here's Boostio and team, presumably, getting out there to Riyadh for the Esports World Cup. So it's starting in a couple of days' time. Today's the 4th of July. Starts on the 8th of July. The team's getting out there a couple of days early because, not gonna lie, if you're traveling from the States especially, the jet lag is gonna hit. I mean, these guys coming out from LA, it's gonna be 8 hours to GMT, or to BST, like British Summertime, where I currently am, and then another 3 hours further forward than that. So you're basically flipping your day on its head. It's gonna take a couple of days to adjust to that, especially because lots of these players, they wouldn't have done that before. Last year for the Call of Duty stuff that I was there for, the players were doing it for the first time, that kind of like immense travel day, and it definitely affected some of the team's play. This year, I know that the teams that have done it last year will be better prepared to understand, okay, this is the protocol we should take to make sure that we fix some of the issues so we're fully locked in and we can actually play proper Valorant when it matters. I think it's going to be a learning curve this year for some of the teams, certainly from Americas, to say, damn, like, that really affected us. So getting there a couple of days early, definitely a good idea. Just to quickly follow up on the whole Muda drama, because we saw it yesterday, and Muda basically went on stream himself not paying the guy. Noke then was obviously crashing out about it a little bit. This was a tweet that Muda did, and then he deleted it. So if you guys are really keen to keep up with this drama, then yeah, these are all the latest updates. So brilliant stuff as ever. Noke isn't very happy about it. Muda hasn't replied to him. Is he ever going to get his $500? I guess time will only tell. Maybe he really cares, but it is what it is. This is 100T. They're obviously getting out there. I mean, look at Boostio's hair go, man. They got the black jerseys. This is what they're going to be rocking with out there, potentially out in Riyadh. Can they get out of their group? That's a big question. We'll see the evidence of that in a second. But Edward Gaming, they played Corrode for the first time yesterday. They played Titan Esports Club. This was the first game of Stage 2, and the first game of the entirety of Stage 2. There are no other matches happening right now, and even yesterday, this was the only game of the day as well. Of course, they were the favourites. They played Titan Esports Club, and congratulations. It was maybe not the highest quality Valorant you're ever going to see this series, but Sunset was 13-9 in their favour, and then they played the Corrode, and this has been a big talking point. It was the map pick of TEC in the end. It was pretty back and forth. And there's been talk about this map, actually a lot of talk about this map. How's Corrode going to play for competitive? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be terrible? Is it going to be too defender-sided? I mean, for now, we don't really have much evidence on that. All we can say is that on the attacking side, they would have won 7-5, and then they won the majority of their defensive rounds to take the series. So I think the key thing to note, just for Edward real quick, is ZJC, or whatever, you know, formerly known as HFMI, or Alphabet Man, or whatever, I don't know. Like, the guy maybe even says formerly known as, yeah, here we go, formerly known as, you guys can see on the screen. He's joined. That's the change that they've made. They, of course, got rid of Simon a while ago. They brought in Jenny. That didn't really work. Now they've got this fella in instead. And in their first series, they won. So there's not too much to take away from it for now. But we will discuss a bit on Corrode in a second. There is another game, presumably starting quite soon in the Chinese region as well. So, yeah, so in a few minutes' time here, in 20 minutes, we've got Guangzhou Huadu Bilibili Gaming playing against Tai Lu, and that's the second game there. And then there's a couple of games over the next couple of days before then the World Cup, of course, starts out in Riyadh, and the dates on that are as follows. We talked about it the other day, but if you guys are unfamiliar, the 8th of July, everything, I mean everything kicks off on the 8th of July. Like, there are so many games on that day. Now, Ardiis has done a tier list. Do we believe in it? That is a question. Now, I will say the way that Ardiis did this tier list is to a large extent based on which teams he expects to get out of the groups. So, for example, 100T, he actually put them down in the D tier shortly after this, just because he looks at their group and thinks they are cooked. There is no chance they get through, and as a result, they might as well be a D tier team. I don't, like, if I was doing a tier list, I wouldn't really do it like that, but, you know, it is what it is. That's what Ardiis is going to do. Of course, he puts the Chinese teams down at the bottom, and he uses the argument that Sentinels only beat Chinese teams at the most recent event, and therefore, they only belong in the C tier. I don't really buy that. I think Sentinels should certainly be much further up. I don't really understand how Senna ended up in the C tier with NRG in the A, but, or Carmine Core even, let's say, in the A, but it is what it is. this is what he came up with. Paper X, Fnatic, Gen.G, the teams to beat right at the top as far as he's concerned. G2 then slotting into the A tier with BBL just behind them, NRG and then Carmine Corps, then Heretics, Edward, DRX, 100T, RIQ, Sentinels, and then XLG, BLG, Titan Esports Club. Of course, those are the other 3 teams that are going to be out there. No Wolves qualified for this tournament, right? So, you know, the Titan Esports Club and those guys will be out there in a few days' time, and that's going to be kind of compelling to see because we've just seen how Edward Gaming faced in that category as well, and they will play RIQ TC in the very first round of the championship. So we'll see if this tier list of Ardiis has any basis in reality rather shortly. Qubit Academy, they've made a couple of changes. I'm not going to click on this because it's just bait, as I'm sure you guys would expect, but what they have done is confirm that Satellite and Caillou are coming in. So we saw a couple of interesting things. T-Dog signing a new contract, and then Caillou signing a new contract, and he's coming in. So exactly what that roster is going to be in full, if Caillou and Satellite are now full-time players, of course they've got Nismo, they've got Redux, they've got Knights, they've got T-Dog, like, you know, exactly what they're going to do for their new iteration of the roster, but apparently it's been going rather well. We talked about it yesterday that they're up 14-3 against G2. So Qubit say Scrims are going pretty well, I guess. But let's talk about Corrode. What do you guys think about the map? They've brought another map in. I think that's the first thing, really, is that it's another map. And they're bringing out maps at a pretty high rate and not. I know there is an argument to say, maybe let's stick with the current maps we have and make some improvements, because there are certainly some elements that could be improved on many of these maps, I think. Whether there are changes that could be made to make some maps more viable, I think definitely could be done, and is maybe something that Riot should consider doing more than they currently do, because right now the logic seems to be, okay, this map is okay, this map is okay, let's do another one and try and find something else that's great. But, you know, it just creates a really big rotation in the competitive scene with so many maps that aren't even getting played at any one time. I don't think they can keep going like this forever, maybe, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. The opinions on this in the community are rather mixed. People, understandably, aren't that happy, just because it's a little different to some other maps we've seen. There are plenty of corners on Corrode. There are plenty of corners and angles to clear as an attacker when the defenders get positions. And that is something that, you know, isn't necessarily the case in other maps. Of course, you can clear them, but you might not have enough utility to clear them. So it plays maybe a little bit more, as TenZ is going to say, like a Counter-Strike map. Some really like it. And then, you know, we've got, I thought Abyss was the worst map, but now it isn't. Second worst map after Breeze. Stop releasing maps, just get the Ascent map design. A map is fun and actually good. Great map. It encourages players to play differently. Too many angles, love it. Interesting, but it's terrible for rotation. It's too one-sided, love this map. Gotta say, it's the least fun map I've ever played. So, I don't know, like, I've struggled to find more of a dichotomy between two sides of the community that either love or loathe this map. But this is what TenZ has to say about it, talking about a few things, but especially this map when it was first released, saying that as far as he's concerned, he's pretty happy about it.
That's a new map. I think the new map, funny enough. Okay, well, first off, in chat, who here has played the new map? If so, doesn't the new map feel like a different take on Ascent? Or am I fucking crazy? It feels like Ascent to me. But honestly, I kind of like it. Yeah, it's more of a CS map. I like it a lot. It feels way too defender side. It does feel defender side, I won't lie. I do agree with that. But honestly, I feel like we need more defender-sided maps. I feel like there hasn't been like enough defender-sided maps. And the new map will have a lot of campers. Probably is a lot of corners. I do think the new map, you don't have enough util to clear all the corners, even in Valorant. That's funny. But there's a lot of angles that you'll be able to play where I think it'll be hard for attackers. Like, there's literally so many angles. So I think it's gonna be like a very like heavy walk contact map. It's gonna feel like Counter-Strike, to be honest.
The TenZ's perspective is, the map is a bit different to what other maps that we have seen in the game in recent times. It gives an opportunity for defenders to maybe have a more defender-sided map where there are loads of angles to clear, but equally it makes things a little different to what we've seen elsewhere, and he feels like it's kind of like a positive take on Ascent in some way. So intrigued to your thoughts on it in the comment section below. What do you guys think of Corrode? Because certainly not seen the last of it in the map pool. Whether it will last forever, what other the map might potentially come back in due course, you know, whether Breeze needs to make a beautiful return as well, or what they might change on Fracture or whatever, right? There's loads of questions that have been had in Valorant on the map side over the last couple of years. But let's talk about some Scrimbux before we close out the video. EG were down 17-4 to someone or another, so that's a little concerning. 2G are actually up 15-7 on Lev, so again, that's maybe a little concerning for them. And Sentinels are playing, they're up 11-8. We don't know who against, but yeah, the EG scoreline a little bit concerning. Crew are up 14-3. We don't know who against. Lev down 4-12. So Leviathan are just like the worst scrim team of all time based on the numbers that we've seen. 2G are actually playing Sentinels and we're up 8-6. So 2G I think have turned a bit of a corner over the last little while, but they're still not going to be good enough, I'd imagine, to maintain their spot in the Pro League, because they would need to qualify for Champions to do that, or like at least make it top 8 or qualify for the playoffs. That's the point. Qualify for the playoffs and they give themselves a chance. Qualify for Champions, they guarantee their return, but those things are looking still pretty slim based on the standings in the league. But who knows? They're now up 15-7 against Lev. Another, you know, similar story. Another one for Lev, they're down 6-9. So it's like, yeah, here we go again, right? Leviathan pretty much struggling in scrims. There was also this one, so Crew up 10-7 or down 10-7 to Qubit, and then a few rounds later it then became 11-10 the other way around. So very much on Twitter your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.